that. Let me tell you a story about Tom, Jerry, and Spike. And this is a true story. And obviously, I changed the name to preserve client confidentiality, but it's a real story, real case that I handled a few years back. So, if I may, let me tell you this story, and I think you can find it relevant. So one day, Spike found a piece of real estate in a commercial industrial building, and he found it was a pretty good deal, right? Slightly below market value in Southern California. Um, there's one problem though. Spike didn't have money and didn't have a credit to follow through the transaction. So he was kind of smart too and savvy that he was able to tie up the property and look for the investor later on. So that's what he did. He had a contract with the seller with a 90-day escrow. So first 60 days, he was trying to find all the different investors. He couldn't, right? And about 20 days before the deadline, he was able to find Tom and Jerry to go into the partnership with him, right? So they have a short meeting. They agreed. Tom and Jerry agreed to put up the down payment and qualify for the loan, and they're gonna split the ownership 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So the escrow closed, and they were really happy about it because they are living their dream, right? They conduct this their own businesses in their own building, right? That's always a dream for many business owners. So few months, they're really living their dream, and they were really proud. But as the time goes by, after they're working together in their respective businesses under the same roof, the friction started to appear, particularly between Tom and Spike. They start butting heads, start arguing, and it's kind of getting worse as months go by. Jerry decided to stay neutral. It's not his business to get into these two partners, right? One day, Spike decided he doesn't want to pretend anymore. Spike approached these two partners like, hey, I was the one found this property. And you know what? I own 85% of it. You two have the remaining. I am the one brought you guys in this property. Now, before Jerry wanted to kind of stay in the middle, doesn't want to get involved between Tom and Spike because his percentage share is being threatened. He have no choice but to side with Tom. Apparently, the lawsuit ensued by Spike. Spike and Tom fought tooth and nail for about 2 years. It was really like a litigation from hell. Jerry, on the other hand, he was kind of being strapped to this train with no destination in sight, and he didn't even get on willingly at first place, right? But he had to because it was agreed upon. Everybody has 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So towards the end, Spike approached Jerry and said, "Hey, Jerry, why don't you give me your shares if you don't want to litigate this matter? Save you some hassle, have peace of mind. Just give up your shares, and then we'll call it even." Of course, Jerry is not gonna take that. Even though sometimes it kind of makes sense initially, but that request just something wrong about it. That Jerry just need to continue to fight for it. Again, it was a litigation from hell for like 2 years. Towards the end, Tom, Jerry, and Spike were emotionally drained, financially drained, apparently, and physically too, right? They probably all start in those 2 years, they probably aged about like 10, literally, because of the stress level that they had to endure. At the end, Tom and Jerry won, but they were back to square one. The property end up in they purchased for their business ended up being sold just to cover the cost of the litigation. Right? They're going back to the time they were renting a space from the landlord, even in a smaller spot because of this litigation cost was so heavy on them, and they ended up with back, even though it's back to square one, it was kind of never the same. Those two, and they literally did not talk a whole lot, right? Even though they appear cordial, but because of this friction and this experience, Tom and Jerry used to be a good friend. Now they kind of like acquaintances. Spike, on the other hand, he filed bankruptcy to avoid the liability of bringing this lawsuit and loss. And we never heard about him after that. So yeah, Tom and Jerry won, but they were back to the square one.